It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
What's going on, Lake of the Ozarks? It's time for another cup of coffee from Slumberland at the lake. I'm Wild Will.
I'm Uncle Chris.
And it's going to be a good show, Chris. Remember last week we talked about some of the developments happening around the lake and updated. We kind of just went off of a guess, or educated guess you could say, on that Lynn Creek 2,200 acres. Well, we do have an update on that story, so that is official. Also talk about, man, what a busy week for criminals around the lake. Did you see some of those headlines?
I did. Kind of sad, weird headlines there.
Very sad, very disgusting on a couple of them. Also, MoDOT backing state legislation to ban all phones while driving in Missouri, not just under 21. So we'll dig into that a little bit in a very special hometown heroes in this week's cup of coffee from Slumberland at the lake.
Hey everyone, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture of the Lake. Right now we have our inventory reduction sale going on through the month of January. Come in, check it out. What does it mean for you? Lots of great savings. We've got savings in every room of the house for every budget you could think of. We have sofas starting at $399, bedroom groups starting at $599. Come see us, save lots of money. Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
All right, so as we get started this week, I got to start, Chris. Not that anybody cares, but I'm wearing a hat today.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get in to see my lady for a haircut, and my hair's like down to here. So,
yeah, I know. I've been there. Yeah, absolutely.
So I had to throw a hat on. So, hey, last week, we broke down a lot of the developments. You know, we updated on the amusement park, which is pretty cool. Looks like it's going to happen. The affordable housing off of Nichols, a big one. The Osage Beach Outlet Mall. Yeah. That's kind of in limbo right now. But one that we didn't have a real clear-cut answer to give you guys, we were just kind of going off of rumors, is the 2,200 square foot development or land that was under contract behind Walmart and Lynn Creek. And what we thought might be the case is exactly what happened. Of course, it went under contract in July. They made that announcement. October, the developer, Blake Hoditz, had revealed some of his plans. That was a big deal, and it was all over the news. And since that time, it's kind of been hush-hush, and the rumor mill had been churning that a deal had been dead as far as the landowner were kind of playing hardball, put it back on the market. Hoditz was still trying to develop his plan, but now they put it back on the market. What's that mean for him? So we didn't really know. Finally, January 12th, Blake Hoditz shot me a Facebook message that reads, "Happy New Year. Unfortunately, my contract for the development of the 22-acre property has expired, and the Hopkins family, the owners, were unwilling to discuss an extension. While this certainly creates a significant challenge, the project is far from dead." Hoditz went on to say, "Over the last 2 years, my focus had been limited to the boundaries of the Hopkins property," talking about that 2,200-acre property. "However, now that my contract has expired, I realize that this limitation has allowed me to think outside the box and explore a wide variety of concepts and locations around the lake. My objectives for the project remain the same: housing, careers, education, community, and innovation. I'll continue to push forward with this project, and I'm excited about the new opportunities that have presented themselves, and I'm confident we'll be able to find a location that will allow us to achieve our goals and create a positive impact on the community." So that's from Blake Hoditz. Did get back with me confirming, yes, that particular location, that is dead. However, the deal as a whole, or this development, is far from dead, he leads me to believe.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting there. So the location, that 2,200-acre parcel of land between the Walmart in Camdenton and Lynn Creek, so it looks like that's going to change. It's not going to be that parcel of land, but he's still keeping the idea, the plan open. He's just looking for a new place to do it, it sounds like. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. As he said in that note to you, he's keeping all options on there. He's thinking outside of the box, still wants to do this, but he's looking for another property now. It'll be interesting to see what and where they find it. They had things, they'd already received approval of their phase 1 plan unit development there in Camdenton, so you would think he would try to find something still in the Camdenton area so that they can, keep that relationship with the city going, but that's not necessarily going to have to be the case. But at least it sounds like he's still trying to get this done.
Yeah, and I think that would be the mindset or the response from a developer not wanting to see a project die. But you mentioned being in Camdenton, they had that unique situation set up, very innovative really, between the developer and the city to help that come to fruition. And so yeah, you'd like to keep it in Camdenton, but not just in Camden County, but any of the tri-counties. Where are you going to find 2,200 acres that could accommodate the plans you've already started to draw up? And so although it's positive, and he said the deal isn't done, Chris, I mean, it's not like there are unlimited 2,000 acre plus areas that are on the market and would be a fit for something like this as far as zoning and layout, the amount of excavation. And so still a lot of questions, but it is a good thing that this developer, Blake Hoditz, he is very interested in the Lake of the Ozarks. He has ties here, he lives here. And so for him, he wants it to happen. But that attitude or that mindset, that response is not a guarantee this happens. Still a lot of hoops to jump through. And when you're that far down the process as they were with the city of Camdenton and the Hopkins family, now you kind of start over from square one. And so not only is this not a guaranteed to happen, but this is probably going to be something that's a few years away from coming to fruition, if at all. But we did want to update the one behind the Walmart in Lynn Creek in Camdenton, that area, that 2,200 acres, that is no longer bought by Blake Hoditz. That development will not be going there, and we did get confirmation. So we'll keep you posted. We're going to keep in contact with Blake Hoditz, and he said he'll be happy to keep us updated. So we'll share anything with you guys that we get between now and then. All right, on to our next story. Big fans. We love Wonderland Camp, one of our favorite nonprofits here at the lake. It's an all-inclusive camp, allows individuals with learning and mental disabilities and limitations to not just experience a camp and do a lot of the activities that everybody loves to do, but it gives respite and rest for their caretakers. Just an incredible organization, and they're now hiring campers for the 2023 season. They're looking for about 100 employees or workers between counselors, medical aides, LPNs, RNs, lifeguards, ropes course operators, help in the kitchen. There's plenty of opportunities regardless of your skill set. If you can get a space, you can help. If you can find something at the camp you want to do, they'll find a place for you, they'll put you to work. And not only paid opportunities, also internship programs. So make sure you go to wonderlandcamp.com and they'll prompt you to sign up and see if you can't work. I think that would be a pretty fun and rewarding summer job.
Absolutely. That's one of those unique places and situations, you know, especially if you're, I mean, just really in your whole life situation, it would work great for kids. You know, if you're like a teenager or, you know, college student or something. But even like you mentioned, nurses and stuff like that, if you're a nurse and you got some free time, and that would be a wonderful place, you know, to spend your summer kind of working, getting some extra hours. And man, it's like volunteering. You know, usually when you volunteer, you get more out of it than you give. And then this is one of those situations where you would get more out of it than you give, even though you're getting paid for it. You know, that's pretty incredible.
And I did want to mention, a lot of you out there, you've heard of Wonderland Camp and you understand the concept and what exactly goes on out there. But until we did our featured nonprofit tour, where Mike Clayton, their director of fund development, you guys recognize him from 92.7 FM, showed us everything they got. I was blown away at Wonderland Camp out there and all they have and all the improvements and additions they continue to add on. And if you're not familiar, I invite you to go check out the featured nonprofit tour I did with Mike Clayton, where he took us out there and showed us everything from the auditorium, the cafeteria, and the bunks, the different activities. And I'll tell you what, that is very special out there. And so go check out that nonprofit of the month tour we did out there. You can find that on YouTube. You can also find that on demand on Lake TV's Roku and Amazon Fire channel. So on to the next local story. Really 4 stories packaged into one, but whoa, doggy, were the criminals busy the last few weeks around the lake. We started, Chris, Sunday night, well, really kind of ended right at the end of the weekend. The police in Sunrise Beach were on an active manhunt, real close to my house, actually.
Wow.
My road was blocked. There were highway patrolmen, there were police officers, deputies, everywhere looking in the woods behind my house for this guy. The press release from Scott Craig, the chief of police with Sunrise Beach, said on January 15th, 2022 at approximately 4:16, the Sunrise Beach PD officers responded to Woods Grocery Store for a call of a wanted individual. Upon arrival, officers found the subject had left, and they checked out the video surveillance. They confirmed it was Dylan Marshke, and he's wanted out of Camden County on multiple warrants. Officers responded near a residence where a family member of the Marshke's family resides. While near there, officers saw him, and when Marshke saw the officers, he fled on foot from the officers. Camden County Sheriff's deputies and Sunrise Beach officers attempted to locate Marshke, but were unable to do so. Now, there was some frustration on behalf of friends and family of the culprit, Dylan Marshke, because the way they sounded, a manhunt, and at first they said on Facebook, do not approach the subject should you see him, made it lead you to believe that he might be dangerous or a threat. Yeah. And I think that was false information, because in this press release, Chief of Police Scott Craig said, we have no reason to believe that Marshke is an immediate threat to the community. If Marshke is located, please contact local authorities. And so they changed their tone there. So really a manhunt, because they saw him close to the house and saw him and wanted to try to corral him on warrants, but not armed and dangerous to the community. And they initially kind of made us led us to believe that he was. So interesting, still not been found. They'll continue to look for him in his warrants, but the manhunt has been called off. Anytime you have a manhunt, you typically think very dangerous, right?
Absolutely. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, yeah.
Yeah, so you can imagine how frightened we are, that there's a manhunt going on around our house and in our woods with numerous emergency responders. Luckily, though, it was probably a little overkill by the emergency responders and police department and highway patrol, because they didn't find him and they went back to their duty. Okay, so that's not the only wild criminal story or police story we have. Also, there's one where the police were looking for somebody in Lynn Creek.
Yeah, swiped thousands of dollars of equipment from Catalyst Electric there in the Lynn Creek area. Authorities looking for the guy. He was spotted on the company's security cameras. They've got video of him. This happened at like 4:50 on Thursday, January 12th, which is interesting. That's an interesting time for a heist.
Yeah.
A Thursday afternoon just before 5. You would think there would be people there. Apparently not. So value of the stolen items right around $3,500. The thief could be seen leaving the scene in a red SUV. They've got the license plate numbers, so keep your eye out for this dude. Kind of weird, though. It sounds like he'd been casing the joint because he knew when and where to go and what to get and stuff. So
when you say that too, like almost 5 o'clock on a Thursday, as weird as that sounds, obviously it was the right time.
Yeah,
because they're still looking for the guy.
Exactly.
Who risked that for $3,500? Sometimes you see these stories and some of these criminals and their actions and the crimes they've committed, and then you look at what they had to gain over what they're losing when they get caught.
Yeah.
Leaves you scratching your head. Now here's one that doesn't leave you scratching your head.
This one is kind of disturbing.
Incredibly disturbing, and I think it's a very strong warning from our new prosecutor, Rochelle Grosvenor Christensen. 30-year-old in Osage Beach impregnates 11-year-old girl. The story from Lake Expo reads, an Osage Beach man has been sentenced to 30 years in prison after pleading guilty to statutory rape. Marcio Devante Simmons was sentenced to the statutory rape of an 11-year-old girl after she miscarried at home, and DNA testing identifies Simmons was the father. Simmons has been jailed since charges were filed. Now, this happened back in 2019. He was sentenced by Judge Matthew Hamner on Monday, January 9th. Camden County Prosecuting Attorney Rochelle Grosvenor called this an appropriate conclusion to a particularly disturbing case. This kind of predatory behavior will not be tolerated in Camden County. Grosvenor said, we will prosecute criminals' cases vigorously and press for sentences that reflect our commitment to the safety of the community. Now, she did note a special thanks to Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Julie Roden, the Osage Beach Police Department, the Sexual Assault Response Team, and the Missouri Department of Social Services Children's Division, along with Kids Harbor. Very disturbing. Happened back in 2019. Now we're here in January of 22. Our new prosecutor just took office, and here we are not even a full month into the new year, and the 30-year prison sentence has been handed down. And I think that is a very staunch warning to criminals, especially of these type of offenses, will not be tolerated in Camden County, especially on the watch of prosecutor Rochelle Grosvenor. Pretty awesome to see that, not the story itself, but to see when you have a prosecutor who is out for the right reasons, they're going to get stuff done. And that is a sign of things to come for Camden County.
And just a quick side note, we were talking a couple weeks ago how surprised we were about that real estate agent lady and her case being dropped because she had been charged with trying to have her mother-in-law killed or something, and it's like it came out of nowhere. We couldn't figure it out. Well, apparently the previous county prosecutor dropped it just before he left, and the new prosecutor came in for whatever reason, maybe right reasons, maybe wrong reasons, who knows. But it is interesting that it was dropped in his last couple of days before he left.
There's a couple of cases really just dropped by Cunningham. It's apparent he hadn't been going to the courthouse, not really to fulfill his duty. No telling what was going on there. But if you need any more reasons to believe that Camden County didn't do the right, or believe they did the right thing on election, this is it, because you see our new prosecutor is taking names and taking out the trash in Camden County and laying down the sentences, and that is a very, very distinct difference from what we saw in the previous prosecutor. So I think that all worked out the way it's supposed to, and I'm glad you brought that up, because at the time we didn't know why that had been dropped.
It just disappeared.
Turns out that probably was going to take a lot of work and a lot of diligence by the previous prosecutor, and at this point I didn't get reelected, I'm not getting paid. Right before he left, probably the case. And the other one, thief and registered sex offender arrested on drug charges. Doesn't seem to get any better.
Very weird. Jasper Scott Smith, 33-year-old, Camdenton, arrested during the, so they do these regular checks with registered sex offenders. During the check, Camden County deputies located stolen property from an ongoing investigation, found methamphetamines, unlawfully possessed prescription medications, and drug paraphernalia used in the distribution and consumption of a controlled substance. So obviously, it looks like he's back in prison or jail or whatever after violating his situational orders there.
Man, it's sad, because we do read these stories from time to time to keep you guys posted, and there was an unusual amount. But we're starting to see more weird stories like this at the lake. Of course, last week we had an officer that had shooting, that an officer had to fire at, I guess you would say a suspect. Well, that suspect was killed. This week, all of these crazy headlines, and as you see more activity and more people visiting the lake, it goes right back to, thank God we've got a prosecutor in Camden County at this point in time who is not going to let this stuff slide. Because when you have a prosecutor in there, Chris, who's tough on violent crimes, on sexual crimes, on crimes against minors, it then creates the precedent that that area is one I want to go to, because it's more likely that I can get away with my crimes and less likely to pay the price. And that had been the precedent in Camden County, and that is no longer going to be the precedent. We're going to see that is starting to change. And good thing, because Chris, we are just starting to scratch the surface of how busy and big the Tri-County area is going to be.
Absolutely. And another thing on top of this, if you take a wider look at the whole picture, with the border being open down south, they're having drug wars in Mexico right now, and a lot of people are thinking, with the borders wide open, people coming across the border, those drug wars are going to move into the U.S. And whether that comes as far up to us in Missouri or not, it's probably definitely going to hit Arizona, Texas, stuff like that, which is kind of sad, very scary, all that stuff. But that's something we're facing in this country now, too.
On a national level, pretty scary when you see some of the things. We haven't gotten to dig into it yet, but we will in the coming weeks. We're going to start addressing some of the COVID-19 vaccination adverse effects, things we're seeing, cardiovascular issues. And so we may even have a special edition of Cup of Coffee outside of our normal scheduled time, because I'm realizing that is something that's going to deserve some of our attention. And so we're going to have to dedicate some serious time, because such a big story, and really here locally, we were the first to really ask those questions, raise that question. As many people has called us stupid and buffoons and idiots living in Will's grandma's basement, they turned out to actually be factual. And now we're seeing, sadly enough, people that are faced with these adverse effects, whether it's terminal illness, whether it's death, whether it's
people
cancers,
just dropping dead.
And it's not just a couple cases. So we'll dig into that in the coming weeks, so you can look forward to that. All right, so we talked about the criminal activity around the lake the last week or so. Man, it has been busy. Cool story though, I thought, because texting and driving is just so dangerous. And when you're busy and you work an ungodly amount of hours, I'll be honest, it's hard at times not to peek at your phone, not to be on it when you're driving. And MoDOT wants to see less and less, not just texting and driving, but even using your cellular device, and therefore they're backing state legislation that would ban all cell phone use for drivers in Missouri. The story comes from KSHB, KC41 TV. Missouri lawmakers want 22 to finally be the year that they changed the state's distracted driving law when this first hit the floor at the end of last year. Now, currently, Missouri is one of only 2 states without a law banning all drivers from being on their cell phone while driving. One of 2 states left that still allows. Missouri's current law only prohibits drivers who are under 21 from texting while driving, and it comes with a $200 fine and 2 points on your license if you get caught. Now, the law does prohibit commercial drivers from using a handheld communication device, including to send, read, or write a text. Now, data from the Missouri Department of Transportation shows that 70%, Chris, of drivers using cell phones in Missouri traffic crashes are 22 years of age or older, meaning that 21 and under is a good thing, but 70+% of those crashes are taking place with people that are over the age of 22. Yeah. State Senator Greg Razor from Kansas City is one of several lawmakers filing legislation for the upcoming session to address the law, his bill, SB 713. Now, that would prohibit all drivers from picking up their phones or looking at them. The bill would allow drivers to use hands-free methods such as Bluetooth or Apple CarPlay or talk to text. But it looks like they're trying to crack down because it is a growing issue, not just in Missouri, but across the country. And it's why you've seen 48 other states, Chris, already ban the use of holding and utilizing your cell phone device.
Yeah, the only other state that does not have a law on this is Montana. And they're saying, the Missouri folks, state folks are saying, as more time goes by, the roads just keep getting more dangerous, which would make sense because, you know, population grows and all that. So according to the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety, since 2015, an average of 108 people are killed every year in distracted driving-related crashes. Over the past 5 years, cell phone-related crashes in Missouri have gone up by 30%, nearly 2,500 crashes in 2019. So you can see this is an issue. This is a problem. Yes, kids have a problem with it, but so do adults. Like you were saying, we have a lot of very busy people who get in the car and they continue their work in the car. And I've been guilty of this for sure. And my wife yells at me every time I do it, which thank goodness for that. You know, I mean, you can see how it can be a problem. And even just being on the phone. When I lived in Texas, it was against the law to even be on your cell phone while you're driving, which is probably wise too.
Yeah, especially now with technology and you know, I have all the different contraptions. You could put it through your Bluetooth speaker in your car. You can talk to text. You even have these things that you could talk into. So It makes it easier. I did want to say, don't know if it's factual or not, but I've heard numerous times that it is actually more dangerous to text and drive than it is to drive while under the influence of alcohol.
Wow.
And so as crazy as that is how distracted you are when you're trying to be on your cell phone instead of focusing on the road.
And there's so many different things you can do on your cell phone. You know, I mean, like people in our business, I mean, you can text, you can talk, but you can also edit film and audio and stuff, which we do for TV all the time.
Hopefully not while you're driving.
Hopefully not.
You know, editing a reel, I could see it on his way. Yeah, hopefully not. But we will keep you posted as this either passes or does not pass. We'll keep you posted on the progress of that.
So, and some heartbreaking stories in that story, like one of the guys that was killed, you know, some girl was FaceTiming with her phone while she was driving, ran over this guy. But that's not a unique situation. That happens a lot.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Very sad. And people that have dealt with some of that are actually involved because it's personal to them and they want to see this prevented from affecting another family. All right, so as we move on, it's time for our Central Ozarks Medical Center Hometown Hero.
Yeah.
It's a special one to me this week, just inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, longtime Missouri head coach Gary Pinkel, and pretty impressive. I want to run through his timeline. Now, he is on the cover of the newest edition of LO Profile. Check that out right there on newsstands now. You see him on the back. Congratulations from Alley Cats. But listen, you know how much I love this guy.
Oh yeah, I mean, you wearing T-shirts whenever you're in the same room with Coach Pinkel. Coach Pinkel. Pinkel. You know, I mean, it's greatness, man.
I mean, he was somebody growing up that was such a huge part of my childhood from like ages 13 until even today. So I want to go just through his timeline. LO Profile did a great job on this. So he's born in 1952 in Akron, Ohio, graduated from Kenmore High School, where he ended up going to college at Kent State University, played tight end under, as you know, head coach Don James.
Yep.
He was an all-Mid-America Conference tight end in 72-73, earned his bachelor's degree from Kent State the next year. He would stay there as a graduate assistant until being a part-time assistant at the University of Washington in 76 and 77, 77-8 Bowling Green, all the way up back to Washington, where he spent time as the receivers coach. Eventually, 84-90, was promoted to their offensive coordinator under Don James. And then in 91, got his first head coaching gig at the University of Toledo with the Rockets. In that tenure, in those 10 years, he was inducted into the Kenmore High School Hall of Fame in 95. I don't know anyone who's in more Hall of Fames than Coach Pinkel. And had a lot of success with Toledo, Kent State. I mean, he's still the all-time winningest coach at 3 universities, correct?
It's crazy. It's amazing.
One of only 2 coaches that's ever done that, I believe. In 97, inducted into the Kent State Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And then, of course, the best day in Mizzou history. In 2001, he was announced as the head football coach for the Missouri Tigers. A lot of success in 2003, broke the 24-year losing streak to Nebraska, winning 41-24. Made the Independence Bowl in 2003 and again in 2005. 2007 to 2011, probably the most successful run in any Mizzou football.
Yep.
We defeat KU in the Border War, 2 Cotton Bowl championships. In 2007, the Big 12 North Big 12 Coach of the Year, Field Turf National Coach of the Year, finalist for Robinson, Bryant, and Munger Award. 2008 Cotton Bowl champions over Arkansas. List goes on and on all the way up to Mizzou going to the SEC, which only happened because of Coach Gary Pinkel. And that was in 2012. Didn't take him long. 2013 and 14 won the SEC East, took him to the SEC championship game. Named Mizzou's coach. He was the winningest coach in Mizzou history with 102 wins. Of course, he's been inducted in Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, recently the College Football Coaches Hall of Fame. He's been recognized by essentially everybody in the state of Missouri, including our governor at the Capitol. His foundation, the GP Made Foundation, is making a world of difference in so many lives. And now that he is a Lake resident, we thought it was only fitting to celebrate his College Football Coaches Hall of Fame induction that we honor Coach Gary Pinkel as this week's hometown hero. Again, incredible story put together, his timeline in the latest edition of LO Profile. It's sophisticated, it's edgy, it's bold. It's LO Profile. Big kudos and shout out to Coach Gary Pinkel for being this week's hometown hero. And I'm serious, you know, he went to college playing under Don James, played with Nick Saban, and he's already faced Nick Saban a handful of times, including in that SEC championship game. Yeah. Boy, that'd have been something if he had won a national title.
And he played football alongside Jack Lambert, NFL Hall of Famer, Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the greatest linebackers of all time. So Nick Saban, Gary Pinkel, Jack Lambert, all in the same group on the same team. Amazing.
You ask me, if I could have at the University of Missouri starting tomorrow to replace Elijah Drinkwitz, Nick Saban, or Gary Pinkel, I'm taking Gary Pinkel 10 times out of 10. That is my coach and will be forever. Tell you that. All right, so we look around at sports. Chiefs had the bye week. They're going to get Jacksonville in the divisional round. Only 8 teams left, so essentially the Elite 8 will spare you the pain of us picking them. Big shout out to Andrew. Gained 3 more points this week.
Still in the lead.
Got a nice lead. We'll see if you can't trim that. Also want to give a shout out to Kevin Hornick, because he was perfect this weekend, along with Andrew in the playoff games, made up some ground and actually jumped me in the standings. I'm all the way down to 4th, Chris.
I know.
Not good.
I'm still going to win.
Please. You better hope that dog's butt's not covered so some sunshine can hit it. All right, Mizzou basketball, they lose 2 in a row for the first time under Coach Dennis Gates. Lose at A&M, lose at Florida. It doesn't get any easier. Wednesday, you've probably already watched it. They play Arkansas, then versus Alabama, and at Ole Miss. Tough cooking in the SEC. If you're looking for upcoming events around the lake, go to funlake.com/events. And as far as what's on the Lake TV, Camden County Presiding Commissioner Ike Skelton on the Community Spotlight Show this week. And don't miss basketball season. Lots of games. You can check out our full schedule on our Facebook page. That's going to do it for this week's Cup of Coffee. For Uncle Chris, I'm Wild Will, and we'll see you guys next week.